Hello, Zambia, and welcome to the Smart Voices Debate Season 2, sponsored by Zambia Revenue Authority. Today's debate will determine who goes to the finals and versus Mukamambo II Girls Secondary School. Who will it be? Today's motion we have: this House believes tax on alcoholic beverages, tobacco, gaming, and betting should be higher than they are. And I repeat, this House believes tax on alcoholic beverages, tobacco, gaming, and betting should be higher than they are. Proposing to this motion is Mount Makulu, and opposing to this motion is Munali Boys. I will now read the rules of this debate. No religious references, quotations, or concepts will be allowed. Physical evidence is allowed, which includes a demonstration of evidence and shall be handed over to the adjudicator. Handwritten, printed, or published materials. The following items are prohibited in the debate room: mobile phones, particularly smartphones, cameras, tablets, MPCs, PCs, and anything that can store data electronically and or connect to the internet. These devices must be handed over to the teachers before the recording. All phones must be on silent. The sequence of the debate shall be as follows. The first speakers on each team present their arguments for 4 minutes, no interjections. The second and third speakers will speak for 3 minutes. Interjections will be allowed. The speaker summarizing will be allowed 4 minutes, no interjections. Interjections will be allowed after the first 1 minute of a speaker taking the floor. Each interjection will be done within a minute. The moderator will enforce the rules allowing or rejecting interjections or calls for support. The timekeeper will pause the speaker's time when there's an interjection. A team can propose to support a speaker after an interjection. Let's get right into it. Who will go over to the finals? I will now call upon the first speaker from the proposing side.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson, for your call. Society improves when we choose actions that protect people, not practices that preserve comfort. Due to lack of time, may I simply say all protocol be highly observed. Bouncing back to the motion that states, and I quote, this House believes that tax on alcoholic beverages, tobacco, gaming, and betting should be higher than they are. End of quotation. Being the icebreaker from the proposing delegation, allow me to define the key terms that have been used according to the Oxford Mini Dictionary. Tax, money that must be paid to the state. Alcohol, a drink containing intoxicating liquids. Beverage, a drink, game, an activity done for amusement. Tobacco, a dry leaf of an American tree that can be chewed or smoked. Betting, risk money against someone else's on the outcomes of an unpredictable event. May the Good Samaritan do as wise. Therefore, the simplified motion states, and I quote, this House believes that the money that must be paid to the state on any drinks that containing intoxicating liquid, a dry leaf of an American tree that can be chewed or smoked, an activity done for amusement, and risk money against someone else's on the outcomes of an unpredictable event should be higher than they are. End of quotation. For my name is Chisha Violet, and I stand strongly to propose to this motion with the following points. When these taxes are increased, there is reduced harmful consumption. If sin tax, value-added tax, excise tax, these are the 3 types of taxes levied on harmful products and services. Allow me to quote from ZRA Excise Duty, Brief Guide, ZRA Value-Added Tax Guide, Oxford Health Policy and Planning. Begin of quote. Sin or public health taxes are exercise taxes imposed on consumption of potentially harmful goods for health, sugar-sweetened beverages, SSBs, tobacco, alcohol, among others. Skip quote. Value-added tax is a tax charged and collected on taxable suppliers of goods and services and imported goods. Skip quote. Excise tax is a particular goods or products, whether imported or produced domestically, imposed at any stage of production or distribution. May the Good Samaritan do as wise. Alcohol, tobacco, and gambling are all price sensitive. When prices rise, consumption drops, especially among youths. Many secondary students have easy access to alcohol, such as cachaso, spirit in sachets, budget lagers, locally known as tujili-jili. Members of this House, betting shops charge as little as 1 kwacha per bet, making it accessible to minors. Members of this House, can you imagine? Juveniles as young as 3 years old have easy access to bonanza. Juveniles will start stealing money because they have been exposed to such things, hence juvenile delinquents. Members of this House, according to my small sampled research, I discovered that these products are highly accessible to juveniles. May the Good Samaritan pass this questionnaire to the judges and my findings to the judges for further
Verification.
Moving on to my second point, environmental benefits. Reduced consumption could lead to decreased litter, pollution, waste associated with these products, such as cigarette butts, bottles, and packaging waste often end up in public spaces, natural environments, harming wildlife and ecosystem. Members of this house, allow me to quote from Zambia Landscape, begin of quote. Over 100 bottles of cachaça seized by council police. The Lusaka City Council, LCC, has seized over 100 bottles of locally brewed beer. These products were being distributed around Kulimatawa bus station and Freedom Way under the guise of selling Mojo energy drinks. End of quotation. May the Good Samaritan do
as wise.
Cheap products are easy to manipulate. This is why they are using Mojo energy drinks to sell illegal cachaça. Members of this house, let us remember that a clean environment is
a healthy environment.
Moving on to my last point, higher taxes can make gaming and betting less appealing, reducing participation. Members of this house, if gaming and betting is less appealing, we will see that juveniles won't be interested in doing such things because it is expensive and it is not easily accessible. Members of this house, in conclusion, increasing taxes on these harmful products is not punishment. It is protection. It is a step towards saving lives. With these few and bulletin points of mine, I submit.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for truly breaking down the motion for us. I will now call upon the first speaker from the opposing side.
When taxes rise beyond the reason, the shadow market becomes the season, and when crimes take over the throne, revenue is overthrown. Arms of appreciation I raise to you, the judges, the chairperson, and the moderator. Standing in front of you is none other than Zulu Remy, a mighty Mnalian coming from the mighty Mnali Boys Secondary School, here to strongly oppose to the motion which states, as I quote, this house believes tax on alcoholic beverages, tobacco, gaming, and betting should be higher than they are. Being the first speaker from team opposition, it is indeed my duty, my role, and my responsibility to outline the important terms of the motion. A tax is a compulsory payment imposed by the government on individuals and businesses. Cigarettes are smoking products which people take to release their stress and their peer pressure. Alcohol are any drink containing ethanol such as beer, wine, and distilled spirit. Gaming and betting is the wagering of money on variable, on uncertain outcome with the intent of winning more. Gaming refers to the legalized gambling activities like casinos and lotteries. May the Good Samaritan all the way from Jerusalem to Smart Voice pass this to the judge for further verification of definitions. When taxes are pushed up too high, the market do not disappear. They simply move into shadow markets. And this is the warning which was passed by the Financial Intelligence Center. And this is exactly what happens to Zambia when we raise taxes on alcohol, tobacco, betting, and gaming. And in Zambia, as we are speaking today, according to what the Vice President and the Financial Intelligence Center said, counterfeit alcohol are increasing. Smuggled cigarettes are entering the country through our neighboring countries, and illegal betting websites are circulating. May the Good Samaritan, all the way again from Jerusalem, pass this to the judge for further verification. Now, the question is, why are these circulating? Why are these spreading? Why are these affecting the country? It is because when we raise the taxes, people do not stop drinking, people do not stop smoking, people do not stop betting. What do? They simply move into cheap and illegal products. And what does that mean for our country? More fake and dangerous alcohol entering our country, more smuggled cigarettes entering our country, unsafe gambling circulating, and no tax collected by the government. Instead of protecting Zambians, these higher taxes, they give off the market into the hands of the criminals. Members of the House, the reasoning is so simple here. Higher taxes, they are not damage reducers, they are damage multipliers. Members of the House, we as team opposition will show clearly to say higher taxes on alcohol, tobacco, betting, and gaming will not solve Zambia's problem. Sit back, relax, as I and my colleague educate the House on these higher taxes. Starting from my second speaker will talk of the joblessness and illicit drug. Our third speaker will talk of Zambia's already existing taxes, which are already high. Not forgetting the results of these higher taxes, which part of them is smuggling. And our last speaker will come here with a recap on the key point, plus vandalize what will be stated by team preposition. Members of the House, taxes are already high. Raising them further is not a solution. It is a mistake because it increases the damages which the country already has. Members of the House, this House must choose between good intention and real evidence. And the evidence is clear. Higher taxes are not damage reducers. They are damage multipliers. And for the safety of our people, the strength of our economy, and for the sake of our workers, we as team opposition firmly stand here to reject and oppose to the motion. I've set the case for my team and I'm just waiting for my team to come and add some spices. Wait, What spices do you have? Chili, right? You should add some chili because it's going to be hot in here. And I, Z-U-L-U-R-E-M-M-Y, Z-U-L-U-R-E-M-M-Y, Zulu, Zulu, Zulu Remy, raised my case.
Thank you so much, Mr. First Speaker, for not only breaking but shattering the ice. I will now call upon the second speaker from the opposing side.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson, for your call. Who we are determines what we do, and what we do determines our happiness, usefulness, and destiny. Before I go any further, allow me to pass my humble greetings to the following people. To the Chairperson, I salute. To the judges, I bow. In simplicity, I say all protocol be highly observed. Going back to the motion stipulates as articulates, this House believes that tax on alcoholic beverages, tobacco, gaming, and betting should be higher than they are. End of articulation. My name is Grace Mwiwa. I stand here proposing to the motion because of the many reasons I'm here to outline. Firstly, higher tax increase government revenue. Higher tax can significantly generate revenue for the government, which can be used to fund development projects. Members of this House, allow me to quote from 2024 National Budget, PwC. The potential impact of a such devolution would be significant due to consistent
Point of interjection
in budget
denied.
allocation
The first
to
speaker
infrastructure
is in the
project
first
relating to
1 minute
hospitals,
of speaking.
etc. May the good Samaritan do
As wise.
sin tax, value-added tax, and excise tax on betting companies is very low compared to the profit they make. Companies like BetPower, BolaBet record huge turnovers but are contributing little to public revenue. By increasing the tax, the government can generate funds which can be used to funding rehabilitation centers. Members of
Point
this
of
House.
interjection.
Members of this House, this ensures that harmful industries contribute
Point of
fairly
interjection.
Point of
to reducing
interjection
this
allowed.
damage. Members of this House.
All right. Honorable Speaker, by the way, I love the fluency. Now, look at how Zambia's illicit cigarette cases raised from 20% to 23.8% in 2024, which resulted in the loss of 50 million kwacha in Zambia's revenue. Now, the question that I impose to you is, Honorable Speaker, how will the government handle much cases of illicit cigarette in Zambia if taxes increase on cigarette? To the judges for further analysis.
Point of defense.
Point of defense allowed.
Our point of defense is simply that because there are high numbers of smokers in our country, we have also supported to this aim to increase taxes so that we can curb or control the amount of people that are actually engaging into tobacco smoking. Okay, just think about it. If taxes have been increased, this will mean that cigarettes will become more or less affordable because their prices will go up as a result of their taxes being increased. This will mean that fewer people will be able to afford them, buy them, and consume them. Therefore, that problem you have stated, Mr. Speaker, will be controlled by increasing the taxes.
Point of addition.
Point of addition denied. Point of rebuttal accepted.
Now, Honorable Speaker, as you have said, when taxes are increased, tobacco will be expensive. Now, when taxes are increased, the tobacco dealers will stop actually importing tobacco legally. Hence, they'll go to illegal means. This is why we're saying high taxes will increase the number of black markets, because when people see that taxes are high, they will end up now starting to smuggle. Do you know that actually 12.2% of the tobacco in Zambia is illicit? And not only that, 61.7% of the imported cigarettes are already illicit. So now, if the taxes are increased from now, how sure are you that indeed the government is going to curb the problems of smuggling?
Point of defense.
Point of defense allowed.
Honorable Member, I would like you to note that alcohol consumption remains one of the leading risks. Pardon me. Pardon me. In the case of illicit trade in tobacco, evidence shows that illicit trade is not increased globally, rather the opposite, despite increasing tobacco taxes. This implies that even when increased tobacco taxes divert demand to illicit market, they push prices up in the illicit market, discouraging consumption. Honorable Member, there is a current misconception that when taxes have been increased in the legitimate market, the illicit market will maintain a small price or a cheaper price. But what will actually happen is that they will also increase their prices to maximize on their profits. Members of the House, this will discourage consumption because there will not be much difference in prices in the illicit market versus the legitimate market. Therefore, us or the consumers will definitely go for the ones that are offering better and cheaper services rather than those in illicit markets that are offering cheaper and dangerous services.
Rebuttal.
Point of rebuttal, point of addition denied. May the current speaker continue speaking.
Allow me to proceed as if I wasn't disturbed. This ensures that harmful industries contribute fairly to repairing the social damage they help create. Members of this House, allow me to quote from Zambia's reports. Beginning of quote, Dr. Msokotwani highlighted that betting has caused serious social and financial challenges for many families, and the government wants to balance revenue collection with safeguarding citizens. End of quote. May the Good Samaritan do
As wise.
Secondly, discourages cheap and dangerous alternatives. If sin tax, value-added tax, and excise tax are increased, it will discourage cheap and dangerous alternatives. Some people argue that higher tax will push consumers toward illicit drugs. However, strongly and enforced tax or rules will discourage these things. Members of this House, allow me to quote that from UCAM. The government of Zambia has
Point
been
of
banned the
interjection
manufacturing and
denied.
sale of strong
Interjections
liquor
are not
such as
allowed during
commonly known as
quotations.
Tujili Jili was banned. By this statement was made by the local government and housing minister. Members of this House, end of quote. May the Good Samaritan pass this to the judges for further
Clarification.
Point of
increasing
interjection.
taxes,
Point of
increasing taxes
interjection
on illegal
denied.
alcohol
The current
combined
speaker is in
with
the
strong,
last 30 seconds of speaking.
enforcement would reduce demand for illicit substances. Members of this House, allow me to demonstrate. Here I have a sachet of powdered juice, and I have pure juice, which is more expensive but can only sustain only one person. Members of this House, this shows that a juice of higher quantity was made of cheap ingredients, while the juice of lower quantity was made of quality ingredients. Members of this House, even as you're drinking this juice, as it is passing through your esophagus, 30 seconds to sum up.
30 seconds
As
allowed.
this is passing through your esophagus, you even feel nice, members of this House. Whereas as you're taking a sip at this powdered juice, your facial impression even changes, members of this House. Members of this House, in my conclusion, I would like to say that increasing taxes on alcoholic beverages, tobacco, gaming, and betting would discourage cheap and dangerous alternatives, and the government revenue would be increased, members of this House. With these few but convincing points of mine, I submit.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for that articulation. I will now call upon the second speaker from the opposing side.
As the great economist Friedrich Hayek once said, the chief cause of the present trouble is that we have overloaded our system with a load of taxes and regulations which are crippling enterprise and destroying our initiatives. Ladies and gentlemen, from the mighty Mnal Boys Secondary School comes the great Andrew J. N. Sehoka, strongly and firmly opposing the motion, which states, as earlier articulated by my fellow speakers. Now, in acknowledgement of the moderator, the judges, and the timekeeper, as well as my beloved audience at large, all protocols be highly, highly observed. Bonafide affiliates, while the idea of increasing taxes on these industries like tobacco, gaming, brewing, and betting industry might seem like a benevolent policy, we strongly believe that it would be a misguided approach that will ultimately harm the economy in many significant ways, such as increased job losses. Trust me on this one, taxes high, jobs will fly. The brewing industry is a significant employer of our country with over 10,000 and 1,000 more jobs in other related sectors, and increasing taxes on these industries will
Point of interjection allowed.
Members of this House, the pre-current speaker from the opposing delegation just said that there will be job losses. But members of this House, if revenue is increased if tax is increased on tobacco, alcoholic beverages, gaming, and betting, this will significantly generate more revenue, which will be able to fund and increase people's salaries, members of this House.
Point of
May you
defense.
take that into consideration?
Point of defense.
Point of defense given to the speaker's panel.
The government may not effectively utilize the revenue which may be generated from the taxes, leading to inefficient allocation of resources. Now, back to my presentation without an
Point of inquiry denied. May the current speaker continue speaking.
Back to my presentation without an accusation. As I was saying, job losses would have a ripple effect on the economy, leading to reduced economic activity and increased poverty. Let me say, if you are a main provider in a family of 7 children and you have been working for an industry in a couple of years, and recently it has been reported that that same industry has gone bankrupt or shut down due to higher taxes, will you be able to feed that family? No. Will you contribute?
Point of interjection allowed.
This question goes to the opposition. Members of the House, if taxes have been increased for these substances, this will simply mean that it will increase these who sell these same commodities or substances and offer these services such as betting will have to increase their prices in order to balance the tax they are paying with the money that they will actually be gaining. Actually, they will not go bankrupt, Mr. Speaker, because they will increase their prices and as a result will be gaining actually more than what they were gaining before because they've increased their prices.
Point of defense.
Point of defense allowed.
First of all, I find no reason in shouting. It's disorderly to the House. Now, first of all, the first thing that I'm going to say is this. Of course, you have spoken about increase in prices. Of course, increase in prices will bring about job losses because the company will be trying to balance up the salaries that they'll be paying to their employees. Second of all, company profit and the tax that they must pay, which is increased. Moreover, speaking of the jar that you just presented, second speaker, you spoke of it that it's cheaper and it will bring about much more quantity, of which many people will buy it because, trust me, a lot of people are looking for cheaper prices rather than that which is expensive. Thank you.
Point of clarity.
Point of clarity denied. May the current speaker continue speaking.
Ladies and gentlemen, nevertheless, increased taxes will lead to a lot of businesses shutting down. And if a lot of businesses shut down, who will pay the revenue? It will lead to a significant decline in government revenue. As my evidence here states that in 2016, 2019 to 2022, Zambia lost a total of $1.5 billion in excess tax revenue due to tired tax. May the Good Samaritan do as expected. Furthermore, higher taxes will drive consumers to the black market.
Point of order allowed.
The current speaker is not quoting. How are you educating us? Because you're just giving the judges. We also want to learn.
Point of defense.
Point of addition.
Point of addition allowed.
Members of this House, is it okay for a speaker to present evidence without quoting it? What if it's fake and it misleads the House, members of this House?
Point of defense.
Point of rebuttal allowed.
Right, it seems like you're not paying attention because our speaker just quoted and said, I quote. Please pay attention, and you should pay attention to the information. And that's why we have judges who are going to read the information, not quoting just because our speaker already said to say, as I quote. It was clear.
Point of clarity.
Point of clarity denied. May the current speaker continue speaking.
As I was saying, higher taxes will drive consumers to the black market, fueling organized crime and loss of government revenue. Trust me on this one, taxes high, the black market will thrive. The illicit trade is a significant threat to public health and safety, and the increased taxes could only exacerbate the problem, making it challenging for the law enforcement to combat. Ladies and gentlemen, as Nelson Mandela said, there can be no keen revelation of a society so than the way it treats its children. Bonafide Phillips, let us prioritize job creation, responsible governance, and economic growth rather than punitive taxes. Members of the House, this has been the one and only Andrew J. N. Sehoka, leaving you with a November to remember. With these few inconveniencing points, I raise my case and yield the floor back to the moderator.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for those quotations. I will now call upon the third speaker from the proposing side.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson, for your call. The true measure of society is how it treats its most vulnerable members. Before I go any further, allow me to say, all diplomatic courtesy be highly and sincerely observed. Standing before you is Kasochi Gladys proposing to the motion that states, and I quote, this House believes that tax on alcoholic beverages, tobacco, gaming, and betting should be higher than they are. End of quotation. But before I go any further, allow me to refute and to rebuttal to what the precurrent speakers just stated. Members of this House, the precurrent speakers from the opposing delegation delegation kept talking about job losses. But members of this House, let's look at the revenue that is being generated from these harmful substances. It will be able to acquaint or amount to the salaries that will be added to people's jobs, members of this House. Allow me to also refute and to rebuttal to economic growth. Members of this House, let's look at the health of our citizens. If they keep taking harmful substances, when will our country develop when we are suffering multiple deaths, members of this House? I therefore go to my points, which state my first point, which is it reduces long-term health and social problems. Members of this House, if sin tax, excise tax, and value-added tax increase, it will reduce the level of consumption. Allow me to quote from an Empower report which states, and I quote, when tobacco prices go up, consumption goes down. End of quotation. May the Good Samaritan do advise. Members of this House, due to this decrease in consumption, the level of non-communicable diseases in the human body will decrease, and the burden that has been placed on the health sector will decrease, members of this House. The health and the lives of many will be preserved. Allow me to quote from...
You know, life is a balance. We're not trying to talk about only healthy risks. We're also trying to talk about how the government will benefit from tax revenue. When tax increase is introduced to alcohol and tobacco, which are the driving forces of tax revenue in Zambia, it will reduce the tax revenue that the government will have. Thereby, the government will be struggling to fund infrastructural projects such as roads, hospitals, and schools. So may you please clarify on your point. Thank you.
Point of defense.
Point of defense allowed.
This defense goes to all of us here. The current speaker stated that tobacco and alcohol are the driving force of Zambia's economy, isn't it? Yes. Therefore, if you increase taxes for them, this will mean that our government will actually be collecting more taxes for them, and it will become an even more driving force for our economy. Further, I would like to highlight that actually by increasing taxes, yes, consumption will reduce because these things will become a bit less affordable to them. Yes. And we are suffering because our youths have, amongst our youth, there are high levels of substance abuse, members of this House. This is because alcohol and tobacco are too accessible and too affordable. Therefore, by increasing the taxes, we will ensure that they will access them less and consume them less.
Point of clarification.
Any points of interjections are denied. May the current speaker continue speaking.
Members of this House, with this initiative, the burden on the health sector will reduce, the lives of many will be preserved, members of this House. Allow me to quote from News Diggers, which states, and I quote, over 7,000 Zambians succumb to tobacco-related illnesses annually. End of quotation. May the Good Samaritan pass this on to the judges for further verification. Members of this House, not only do these substances contribute to health crisis, but they also contribute to social problems such as broken marriages, rape, assault, and murder. Allow me to quote from a Johnson Forum report which states, and I quote, alcohol is frequently a contributing factor in many assault cases, including both sexual and physical assaults. End of quotation. May the Good Samaritan pass this on to the judges for further verification.
Allowed.
All right. Thank you. So, Mr. Pre-current Speaker, you have been talking of these higher taxes contributing to the health sector. But what you're talking about are the higher taxes on alcohol, tobacco, betting, and gaming. But now, are you aware to say the amount of tax which is collected to these tobacco, betting, and what? It is not directly directed to the health sector, the education, and the primary education. Now, let me tell you some figures. The public health, according to the budget of 2021, they only get 11.8% of the taxes. Now, what are you saying to say if we increase the higher taxes, then the health sector will benefit because there will be no addiction? By the way, addiction, it is not a tax concern. It is a health concern. So let us not drag tax into this health concern which you are talking about. Thank you.
Members of this House. Members
Point of defense allowed.
Members of the House, if the pre-current speaker understood clearly what I said, when the taxes have been increased, these funds are going to go to even upgrading the hospitals, even helping these people, empowering the youth who are wasting their time addicted to this tobacco. So please, get that.
Point of addition. Point of addition.
Any points of interjection denied. May the current speaker finish her points.
Allow me to dive into my second point, which states it aligns Zambia with the global health policy. Affiliates of this House, if sin tax, value-added tax, and excise duty increase, it will align Zambia and other countries with global health policies. Let's take the
Honorable
mental
Speaker,
health
point
and
of
tobacco
rebuttal.
health policy
Point of
under
rebuttal
the World
denied.
Health Organization. Members of this House, allow me to quote from a World Health Organization report which states, and I quote, the WHO framework Convention on Tobacco Control is the single most efficient and cost-effective measure for reducing tobacco use, end of quotation. May the Good Samaritan do. My third and final point, members of this House, it protects the vulnerable. Members of this House, if sin tax, excise duty, and value-added tax increase, it will protect the vulnerable by reducing predatory marketing. Predatory marketing is when companies target vulnerable groups to push for their harmful products. Allow me to illustrate, members of this House. Substance A here, 30 seconds to sum up.
30 seconds allowed.
Substance A represents cheap, accessible,
Point of order,
harmful products,
denied.
and substance B represents expensive, inaccessible, harmful products. Substance A dissolves quickly in clientele 1 as opposed to substance B in clientele 2. Members of this House, this clearly means that cheap, accessible, harmful products generate revenue within the twinkling of an eye as opposed to expensive, inaccessible, harmful products. In my conclusion, I say that if taxes increase on tobacco use, alcohol, alcoholic beverages, gaming and betting, this will protect the vulnerable from predatory marketing, it will align Zambia with global health policy, and it will reduce long-term health social problems. With these few but convincing points of mine, I rest my case.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker, for that articulation. I will now call upon the third speaker from the opposing side.
Before we dive into the news, allow me to offer a rebuttal. The summarizer from Team Preposition stated that if taxes are increased, jobs are not going to be lost. Well, Mr. Speaker, have you heard of investors actually pulling out of a business because the taxes are high? I don't know.
Of order.
Point of order, denied.
Bonafide affiliates, my name is Shepherd Bwalia, coming all the way from the mighty Mnali boys, where only the best is, will, and shall forever be good enough. Here to oppose the motion that has already been stated by my pre-current speakers. In view of time, allow me to say, all protocol is highly and highly observed. Now, members of the House, here's why we're here to oppose to this motion. Number one, Zambia already has high tax rates when it comes to these products, alcohol and betting companies. Here, I have a report by the ZRA showing a table actually and the chart of how these taxes are actually paid. Let me quote one of the highlights of this actually. Spirits, the spirits that are alcoholic spirits actually pay about 60% on price as VAT excise tax. To the judges for further analysis.
Point of interjection allowed.
Members of this House, we agree that tax has been increased. But, back to the motion which states, and I quote, this House believes that tax on alcoholic beverages, tobacco, and gaming and betting should be higher than they are. Members of this House, we are not saying that tax isn't being collected, but what we are saying, in accordance to the motion, that it should be higher. Please take that into consideration.
Point of rebuttal.
Point of rebuttal, point of addition denied. May the current speaker continue speaking.
Now, thank you very much. You have actually stated something that I actually love. Yes, the taxes are high. So what's the point of increasing them further? Now, Bonafide affiliates.
Point of interjection denied.
Interjection, interruption. When we finish, please follow me for an interaction. Bonafide affiliates, as we proceed into the details of this debate, increasing taxes on these products will actually lead to less investor confidence, because investors will want to invest in a companies where in that country the taxes are fair. Now, if we continue to increase taxes on these companies, these investors that are bringing funds to Zambia will actually decide to pull out of our markets, hence leading to the job losses that my pre-current speaker was talking about. Now we move on. Increasing taxes will only expand the illegal markets.
Point of interjection allowed.
The precarious speaker. How many families are losing loved ones all because of tobacco addiction, alcohol abuse? Members of this House, how can the government thinks about the country's health, the people's health? So now, if how would the government has to collect government revenue, members of this House? May the current speaker take that into consideration.
Point of rebuttal.
Point of rebuttal allowed.
First of all, people are losing their beloved ones because of illicit tobacco trade. To the judges for further analysis. Now, allow me to give you a scenario. Imagine a husband tells his wife that I'll give you the entire world. Of course, it's romantic, but if you come and think about it, what would the rest of us say? Meaning that it's not about one person. it's about the entire world. A report by the Zambia Brewery indicates that 30,000 households have been 30,000 households and creating more than 80,000 jobs for the local people. Meaning to the judges for further analysis. Meaning that I'm still talking, please. Meaning that if the tax increases on alcohol and tobacco, it will lead to job losses. I asked the second speaker and the summarizer from Team Opposition. I'm still speaking, please.
Point of interjection denied.
I asked the second speaker and the summarizer from Team Opposition, what will the government do in order to reduce issues of illicit tobacco trade if taxes are increased?
May the current
of which they will
interjector
increase?
please wind up. Your 1 minute is almost over.
Thank you. I submit.
Point of defense.
Point of defense denied. May the current speaker continue speaking.
Now, as I was saying, members of the House, if investors decide to pull out of our businesses, it will lead to job losses. Now, imagine, members of the House, as my colleague here has stated, 80,000 households are actually being supported by the Zambia breweries, the betting, and the alcohol trading facilities. So now, if the investors decide to pull out of our businesses and jobs are lost, how are you going to take care of those 80,000 households? I'm not even sure if you can sponsor one of them. Now, members of the House, to proceed, increasing
Point of
taxes
order denied.
on these companies will actually lead to a lot of illicit trading. Now, let me give you a did you know. Did you know that actually about 61.7% of imported cigarettes are illicit? Now, what are illicit substances? Illicit substances are illegal substances, either denied by law or imported through illegal means such as smuggling. To the judges for further analysis. So now, if these now drugs are being imported and the taxes are already at a lower rate, now if we increase these taxes, how sure are we, 30 seconds to sum up,
30 seconds allowed.
how sure are we that actually these companies that are trading fairly are going to proceed? Because if the taxes are high, they're going to pull out of the clean market and go into the black market. I have proofs here that are showing the cases of where the Zambia Revenue Authority has impounded a lot of smuggled drugs, beer, and a lot of other substances. So now, if already the cases are this alarming and the taxes are already low, how are you going to project the future if the taxes are increased? We're going to see a Zambia that is actually going to be bankrupt because these legal companies that are paying taxes are going to bail out and go into the illegal markets. Now, here is what we're saying.
Mr.
Increasing
Speaker,
taxes.
your time is up.
I sum up and I rest my case, Madam Moderator.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for educating us on this matter. I will now call upon the summarizer from the proposing side.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson, for your call. As I proceed, allow me to say all protocol be highly observed.
Observed.
I am Moses Banda, the summarizer from the proposing delegation, here to give a compiled summary as we stand in favor of the motion which stipulates and I articulate. This House believes that tax on alcoholic beverages, tobacco, gaming, and gambling should be higher than they are. End of articulation. To start with, members of the House, allow me to refute and rebuttal the allegations brought forth by the opposers. Thirdly, firstly, why increase taxes? Taxes are already high as according to the motion, but they should be made higher. They should be higher than they are. Having that we have not managed to control the levels of substance abuse in our country with this level of taxes. So we aim to increase them so that we may be able to control or curb the amount of substance abuse that is going on amongst our youths. And we are also trying to eliminate or rather reduce levels of gambling, members of this House. And further, I imply that increasing taxes is not aimed at closing these industries or dropping these industries, but rather to control or curb the amount of consumers, members of the House. We have seen that there are high levels of consumption of these harmful substances in our country. Therefore, we want to increase the taxes in order to reduce them, to make them a bit less affordable, members of this House. Now I come to my points. Point number one, higher taxes reduce harmful consumption. Members of the House, if taxes for these substances has been increased, the prices will also go up, making them a bit less affordable and out of reach for the average youth, members of the House. Therefore, we shall reduce harmful consumption by this. Allow me to quote from Global Tax Program under the title World Bank Group. Beginning of quote. Excise taxes are the most effective policy instrument to increase market prices to amount for the full cost of consumption. May the Good Samaritan do
As wise.
Moving on to my second point, higher taxes increase government revenue. Members of the House, just think about this. I am your landlord, and one day I wake up and call you to say, instead of paying me 800 kwacha a month, you will be paying me 1,000 kwacha a month, which will lead to an increase in my monthly earnings. Because once I collect that monthly rental, I will have more revenue, actually, which I will use to renovate these same infrastructures. Equally, if taxes have been increased, collection of these taxes will lead to an increase in government revenue, which the government will then further to continue to fund public services and to build new infrastructure. Members of the House, we are already seeing that our civil servants are being paid. Where is this money actually coming from? It is coming from the same tax that you are not agreeing to raise, or rather make higher, the preposition. Moving on to my third point, it reduces long-term health and social costs. Members of the House, because these substances are too accessible and too affordable, there are high levels of substance abuse. And because of abuse of these same substances, there are various health problems that arise amongst our citizens as a result of this, such as cancer and cardiovascular diseases, which are costly or rather hard to curb. Members of the House, allow me to quote from a publication by the World Health Organization. Alcohol consumption remains one of the most leading risk factors. The harms are wide-ranging, ranging from cancer, liver, and cardiovascular diseases to injuries, violence, and infectious diseases. End of quote. May the Good Samaritan do
As wise.
Moving on to my fourth point, discourages cheap and dangerous alternatives. Members of the House, what our preposition think is that once taxes have been raised for the legitimate market, they will, those who offer illicit goods and services, or those in the illicit market, will maintain a lower or rather cheaper price. But that is not the case. They will also increase their prices because they simply want to maximize on their profits. Members of the House, now if you look at it and reason, here is a good of higher quality that is legit, and here is a cheaper or rather a good. 30 seconds to sum up.
30 seconds allowed.
Members of the House, as I conclude, allow me to say that increasing taxes, sign tax and excise tax for these goods and services will lead to thinner chances of substance abuse amongst our youths. Members of the House, there's a common member saying that states, as I quote, imitikula empanga, end of quote. Its translation in this context is that the future of our country lies in the hands of our younger generation. Therefore, members of the House, by increasing these taxes, with these few and convincing points of mine, I submit.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for that detailed summary. I will now call upon the last speaker of this debate, the summarizer from the opposing side.
First of all, Mr. Summarizer, Mr. Moses Panda, that landlord that you mentioned is selfish because he's only looking at pocket gain. Ladies and gentlemen, if we look at Zambia Brewery report, it indicates that 10 billion kwacha and an average of 1 billion kwacha each year is paid by the Zambia Brewery as tax to the judges for further analysis. Now, what will happen when taxes increase? You mentioned very well that when taxes increase, they'll reduce. When taxes increase, they'll also increase the pricing of tobacco and alcohol. Now, who would want to go for something that is much more expensive if I can access something that is cheap? Moreover, ladies and gentlemen, speaking of gaming and baiting, a report by Zicta this year indicates that baiting and gaming contributes heavily on tax revenue in Zambia to the judges for further analysis. Once again, I ask, what will happen when taxes increase on gaming and baiting? A report by iGaming expert this year indicates that Betway withdrew its partnership in the Premier League Zambia because of high increase in taxes to the judges for further analysis. I know you're tired, but you just gotta do it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, with that being mentioned, allow me to simply say, or protocol be highly observed. Now, let me dive deep into business. Ladies and gentlemen, speaking of increase in taxes of tobacco and alcohol, which will reduce health risks. Unfortunately, it will not. A report by Africa Press this year indicates that when increase in taxes come about, it will lead to people withdrawing from well-manufactured and processed tobacco and alcohol because it is expensive to the judges for further analysis, of which when we look up into it, it will force people to withdraw from well-manufactured and processed tobacco and alcohol in order to access that one, which is much more cheaper, but yet again is processed without proper measurements and quantity. Now, ladies and gentlemen, moreover, for people to have access to these cheap, illicit products of tobacco and alcohol, there is need for them to be smuggled, thereby impoverishing the economy of the nation. To the judges for further analysis, of which this report, this report right here indicates that 4 million kwacha was lost by the Zambian government because of illicit trades. Now, what more when you increase the taxes? I believe you have the answer for me. Now, ladies and gentlemen, one thing that team proposition failed to bring about is job employment. Not all people are lawyers. Not all people work under ZRA, of which they just have to speak of taxes and how they come in. Some people work as farmers. Some people depend on these same jobs of brewery under the Zambia Brewery and processing tobacco and alcohol. What more when taxes are increased? Ladies and gentlemen, a report by LusakaTimes.com indicates that the Kawe Great Plant, once finished, it will bring about a lot of million jobs, and it will reduce foreign processors of tobacco, whereby we as Zambia, there will be no need of us to process tobacco or import tobacco from other countries, but there will be need for us ourselves to depend on our own tobacco. Moreover, they spoke of increase. Moreover, this report speaks about an opportunity it will bring of 80,000 job opportunities for the local people. And how, to the judges for further analysis, of which when taxes, kindly ask him for 30 seconds.
30 seconds allowed.
Now, for the cake that I want you all to go with today is a packet of tobacco. What's with the looks? I don't spoke. Now, when you read in the sides, it speaks of made in Zambia, meaning that it is not Zambian made. Some of it is imported in Zambia. Now, what more if it is increased? The tobacco rates, tax rates are increased in Zambia. It will lead people to less depend on this. Thereby, the government will be having losses and not gains. With that being said, allow me to simply say I wish best to all teams, because this is the ecosystem of debate, and it remains a standing law, survival of the fittest. I thank you. To the judges for further analysis. Hold it properly.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, for ending this debate on a glorious note. We have come to the end of this brilliant battle of the brains. Who do you think has won? But stay tuned as the judges tally the results. Is it mighty Mount Makulu or mighty Munali boys? Who's going to the finals?
Taxation is the backbone of any thriving economy. In Zambia, the system of taxation ensures that the government can provide essential services to its citizens. Taxes are collected from individuals and businesses in various forms. These include income taxes levied on the earnings of individuals and businesses. Value-added tax, VAT, is a tax on goods and services. Corporate tax is charged on the profits of companies. And customs duties are taxes on goods that are imported into the country. The taxes collected by the ZRA fund a wide range of public services, including education, healthcare, infrastructure, and social services. These services improve the quality of life for all Zambians. ZRA also provides education and support to taxpayers, ensuring they understand their obligations and can comply with tax laws. In addition, ZRA has implemented modern systems such as e-filing and online payment platforms to make tax compliance easier and more convenient for everyone. By effectively collecting taxes, the Zambia Revenue Authority helps build a stronger, more prosperous Zambia. The Zambia Revenue Authority. My tax, your tax, our destiny.
The results are in. The judges have decided. Munali Boys Secondary School. You came here eyeing the finals. And here is what you have scored. $831 points. A big hand. Mount Makulu Secondary School. You put up quite a fight. You have got with Munali Boys scoring 831 points. 931 points. 35 points. You have qualified to the finals. Which means that next week, the finals, we have the mighty Mount Makulu versus Mukamambo II Girls Secondary School. Don't miss it, even for the world. Yay!
Challenge,